So in this video, I'm going to explore the circumstances that created Jesus in real life. You'll quickly see that my explanation far transcends the popular culture explanation and other people's explanations that you'll come across. First of all, when Jesus turned water into wine, when Moses, and Aaron were trying to prove to Pharaoh and the Egyptians that they should let the Jews go, God said that he should pour the water on the ground, the water from the Nile on the ground, and it will turn into blood. So water into blood. Jesus turned water into wine, and he said, drink this wine to remember me, and it represents his blood. And the bread, which in Exodus is the bread of God's presence, his body, right? His body is the temple. So his temple is really the spirit, and it represents, the temple represents the body and it represents the spirit, because the bread in Exodus, and his blood, the wine. So how do you turn blood into the Spirit of God? So we see this with the tree of life. They say, be fruitful and be multiply. You know them by their fruit, right? The fruit of the body. The children are also the fruit. Wisdom is proven right by her deeds. Another part of the Bible says wisdom is proven right by her children. So we look at Matthew 7:15-19. It says, beware of false prophets. You know them by their fruit. If they have children, who are their children? What kind of people are they? And did they raise them themselves, obviously? What are their deeds? What are their works? What is their argument? Are they elevating people unfairly? It reminds me of when white people used to lynch black people, right? They take pictures, they smile. It was like their martial art argument of quite a few of them. A huge population was accepted. The governing class completely ruled out. You don't look to them for God's line. They had the power to stop them at any time, like it was shown in desegregation. They cracked down on the Klan. They could have done it the whole time. They didn't. And they let it proceed. And countless black people were hung, especially the more aggressive, more martial art types. So what is the fruit of the governing class? What is the fruit of the West? It is the refusal to give justice to black people and other people they abused, and their complicity and obedience with the governing class. No servant can be greater, so we can rule them out. Plus the propaganda of their church, they do not explain this. And many of them are in secret societies, and they know this, but they do not explain this. To whom much is given, much is expected. The one who knows better will be beaten with more blows. The groups who knew better and had the power, when Satan is the god of this world, will be more ruled out than the others. So Isaiah 51, God is telling these people, the Jews, to look to the rock and the quarry that they come from. He said, look to Abraham and Sarah. And of course, Abraham, A-B-Raham. If we look at this in terms of Egyptian thinking, and this couldn't possibly be a coincidence, because Moses' name means to draw water. Abraham, he was drawn from the water of the Nile. And eventually he was told by God to turn water into blood. Abraham. Ra is the word for God, right? The sun symbolizes the masculine presence of God. The earth, the motherland, what have you. And Ham represents black people and the people in the Middle East who are right by them, because of what had occurred when blacks invaded the Middle East and were the people there. Then eventually whites and other people came, and they pushed them out, and they started conquering Egypt, right? Way later, the Persians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, these guys came after whites had kind of bred with them, and they went here, right? All right. So Amos 9:7 said, are you not the same to me as the Cushites O children of Israel. Long ago, the Cushites, we see the King James Version says Ethiopians. Ethiopians was the word for all black people, right? It was Cush, right? The blacks would come on the Nile, which flows from south to north, and they would trade and so on and so forth. So these black people would come that way. The desert on Egypt was on the left. So the black people typically wouldn't come through Libya and so on and so forth. They would come from the Nile. So their trade would be like this. And their trade center was Nekin, where Horus's cult center was, in way south Egypt, which is the place of the hawks, the falcon. Of course, black people, the Kwa people, hawk is H-A-W-K, Kwa is K-W-A, and the H is the fence. They're trying to keep these guys from connecting to God. So they told in Isaiah 51, there's only 66 chapters, God tells the Jews, look to Africa. I used to describe Bethlehem, right? The house of bread. And Egypt was where all this bread comes. You know, we have the story of Joseph, where all these, you know, the famine, okay, where all these people came to buy bread from Pharaoh when the famine hit, okay? So it was like the warehouse of bread, and this is like the store of bread. Of course, the Canaanite deity in the Middle East, the deity of the Canaanites, El, who a lot of Jewish people and neo-pagans and so on worship to this day. Okay, his name is a play on words for El, I-L-L. They were these El people who were cast out by the martial art order. I'm not trying to insult people, it's just history. Okay, and they said to these people, hey, you need to choose the people more like the African martial art order to lead you. That's why David, okay, was said to be the ancestor of, he says the root and offspring of David and the bright morning star. Now, what is the root of David? And what is the rock and the quarry that these people were cut from? It is Africa and its spiritual root in heaven, God. And of course, Pharaoh elevated Joseph to his second in command. Okay? And then eventually a bad Pharaoh came about and started mistreating the Jews. So what was the natural order under Joseph? It was Pharaoh, then Joseph. This is key. Pharaoh also controlled Joseph's reproduction by giving him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, in Genesis, the high priest of On, which is Ra's cult center. If you think these things are a coincidence, you're insane. The Bible is a way to give to, because remember, there's tribalist people all over the world, not just the Jews. Even the Igbos are tribalists. You know, everyone's tribalist to some degree, basically. My dad had the foresight, my mother had the foresight to come together and mix. But most people do not have that foresight or insight or understanding, and they're in some kind of psychological prison, and they say, my tribe, it must be from my tribe. My tribe is the best, right? They all make this mistake, basically. You know, traditionalists, racists, just regular people following the crowd. So, God in Genesis hovers over the water. The Spirit of God is associated with the water. The prostitute sits on the waters. She said, no, we're going to ward God out. The word draw backwards is ward. D-R-A-W is W-A-R-D, backwards. Hebrew is read forwards and backwards. I didn't know that till about 5-10 years ago or something. Whenever I heard it, someone told me, I said, wow, that's interesting. And it has something to do with brain functions. Well, we'll leave that alone for now. Okay, so the Spirit of God is hovering on the water. The warrior, Exodus 15:3, God is a warrior, the warrior spirit, the deity of justice. You know, the true God of justice, right? God, the source of justice, is one true God. Deities are just deities, right? God, right? Okay, so justice, righteousness, true love, the moral warrior spirit, etc. This is hovering on the water. So you know them by their fruit. We need to see justice and righteousness. Isaiah 5:7, God looked into the vineyard where we get grapes from, okay, where we make wine, the wine press, okay, and looked for justice and righteousness. So God looked at the planet for justice and righteousness. It said in Amos 9:7, are you not the same as the children of Ethiopia or Africans? Ethiopians are diverse. Some are more related to Nigerians, some are less. Unto me, O children of Israel. And of Ethiopia, the most populated part of Africa, the heart of Africa, the heart, the passion of Christ, the heart, the Lord weighs the heart, okay, is Nigeria. Most populated country historically by far. As soon as they made Nigeria, this massive country the British had put together, there was the Igbos there, so on and so forth. These are the greatest warriors. It says Nimrod was a mighty hunter before the Lord, okay, in the Bible. He was the greatest warrior at the time, is another translation. When we look at Psalm 45, it talk about the Messiah as a mighty warrior, a mighty one. Isaiah 42:13, the Lord will march out as a mighty warrior. So the fruit of the Almighty is a mighty warrior. Look to the rock and the quarry from which you were hewn. You know them by their fruit, the seed, the fruit tree, the continual reproduction of the fruit of the Spirit that turns into the blood, right? The Word became flesh. The water with God's Spirit hovering over it became flesh, okay? And it became flesh through the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order, which is the root. Before Abraham is the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. Cush was a mighty one. Again, I tell you, it says, are you not as the children of Cush in Ethiopia unto me, O children of Israel? Right? Cush, and some versions say Ethiopia, of Africa. Moses took a Cushite wife, as the story goes. And Miriam said, why did you take a Cushite wife? And spoke against her, and God struck her with leprosy. And he prayed for her, and God eventually lifted it. Okay? It is clear cut. Not only am I right, people who said that I'm not right, symbolically in the Bible, were punished regardless of who they were. The sister of Moses, regardless of who they were. If the entire Jewish population gets together and says I'm wrong, they'll be punished. If the whole planet gets together and says I'm wrong, they'll be punished. If their offspring live as if I'm wrong, they will be punished. Wisdom walks in the way of righteousness along the path of justice, and you have to do those who were before Abraham justice. God rewarded Pharaoh with the power over Joseph. Before the Jews, I am. The kingdom of heaven will be taken away from you and given to a people who will do their work, is what Jesus said in the New Testament. Now, who does the work? There's a saying in the Bible, they say, like Nimrod, a mighty warrior. So you look to the fig tree for the fig. If you don't know I'm right, and if you don't know that I'm Christ, look at it this way. I'm going over the time. Let's just wrap this up real quick. When we look at Africa, we say, well, let's look to Africa. Who's the Nimrods of Africa? Is it Ethiopians and Eritreans and Somalians and Libyans? Is it Moroccans? Is it South African? Is it Cameroon? Is it the Congo? These guys are like Urkel saying to fucking Michael Jordan that they're the top basketball players. When we look in terms of martial arts, Nigeria is the bell that rings the loudest. Most people who watch the UFC, even though that's not a true martial art competition, can more or less put that together. Okay? You would not see a Somalian stepping to the martial art chief in Africa, the king of kings, okay, with a spear, like, come on, guys, it's not going to happen. Because I would break their fucking neck, I break their spear, and I cut them the fuck up. Okay? Because God chose me. That was God's decision. It's God's glory. What am I? I'm flesh and bone. What are humans that God cares about? Their life is but a mere breath. But God said, I'm choosing him. Psalm 2, why did the people plot in vain? Why do they work with endless genealogies? Why don't they look for the fruit so you know who the prophet is? In Galatians, they says there's no Jew or Gentile. There's just fruit. There's just works. There's just the Spirit becoming flesh. And the divine verdict is mine, and after I die, people are sealed in hell. In this video, you should know beyond any doubt, because of the desire to seek justice and righteousness and truth, because my dad, being a brain surgeon, a refugee, came up, and a brain surgeon worked his way up. In the martial art culture in Angola, the leopard is the surgeon. The leopard on the war standard is the lion. The lion on the war standard is the leopard. Because the leopard is a martial art animal. The lion is just a fierce animal. Okay, with the leopard, you compare the leopard to the lion, you'll see what I'm saying. I went way over. They're going to give me a pain in the ass about uploading this. This video is key. Okay, if you don't understand anything I say, remember this: God hovered over the water. Jesus turned water into wine. Moses spilled the water from the Nile on the ground. It became blood. The water turns into blood symbolically. Okay, it represents those who build toward righteousness. Okay, they accept the Spirit of God. And then they draw it every generation, then they convey it to you. Okay, I used to describe it as this: Ra, meaning God. I do not worship pagan system. The one true God the Bible is getting at, Okay, Israel, Israel, Abraham, Abraham. Okay, okay. I say Ra, spirit, draw. Ra ka ba ka, right, to my soul, and then to the spirit of those around me. Now I'm the sabotage hero. That's why Jesus depicted on the cross, because if the righteous man was to come to the world, he'll be persecuted. One minute time now.